Hi guys, welcome to Heat Geek. Today, a bit of a different one. Again, I'm here with Cameron Wood. Cameron is the UK PR Director for Tado. And as you know, we've kind of got a bit of a history with Tado. I very much loved Tado when it first came on the scene, raved about it a lot. And there's a few updates and I think potentially a bit of an exclusive today. So we're going to discuss what is Tado, what can it do and what can't it do. Just a quick note. This episode is not sponsored by Tado. The whole reason I'm having this conversation is because, one, bit of a fan of Tado. Two, there's a bit of confusion as to what it does and doesn't work with that I'd like to clear up. Three, we've got the exclusive. So if you are a manufacturer and think that I'm going to go around doing this for manufacturers, no, we are product agnostic. If we don't like something, we definitely say about it. So kudos for Tado coming on. Luckily, I am a fan for them. I guess they kind of knew that. But yeah, just to say, this is not a sponsored episode. Hi, Cameron. I'm glad we finally, we've been trying to get this meeting done for a while, haven't we? And it's been a bit difficult.
Yeah. I'm glad we managed to get it. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so I'll just explain my kind of Tado journey a little bit, I suppose. I loved Tado from a very early stage because they spoke the different boiler languages, the different bus languages, which meant they could intelligently control those boilers and vary their flow temperature and importantly take data back from the boiler, i.e. what's working, what's not working, potentially flow temperatures, things like that. So the system can be monitored on a bit more sort of heavier detail. I did a YouTube video on it on the Heat Geek channel. That's called Must Watch Before You Choose a Thermostat. And then as far as I understood, the modulating capabilities of the wireless version were removed and it started to get a bit complicated. So I just went, I can't really be bothered with that. And I just stuck with manufacturer's controls. That's basically where I've parked that whole issue. So I suppose like number one question for me is, where are we with all of that?
Yeah, that's you kind of explained it right. We removed the modulating controls from the UK version of the wireless thermostat. The wired version still has it, right. But in the UK, wireless is our most popular product. We removed this and we kind of didn't tell anyone. We were a little bit silent, which isn't really a good thing to do. And, when me and some other people joined the company, we kind of got our heads around this and started to figure it out. We know and we realize from folks like you at Heat Geek, conversations with, friend of the show, Nathan Gambling, how important modulation can be. But when we looked into the stats around people in the UK specifically using these controls, it was really, really small. It was, I can't remember the exact figure, but in terms of percentage, we're talking low single digits of people in the UK who buy modulating Tado thermostats and fit them without modulating controls. Could be a few reasons why. It could be that people just aren't aware, not really much awareness, maybe no education about the benefits that these bring. It could be us not properly communicating it. It could also be that when you're upgrading your thermostat, even though we kind of give you these step-by-step instructions, put this wire there and you'll be kind of golden, people have got off their old thermostat off the wall and thought, well, these two wires could just go straight into these terminals on the new one. So I'm not going to mess around with whatever modulation is. I'm just going to fit it in there.
Yeah.
So we were faced with this kind of strange and difficult business decision where even though we had this great technology that we call it multi-bus, where you can kind of throw all these different thermal interface types at it, nice. And it'll kind of decode these and just use whatever your boiler is using. When we looked at the UK market, it was a big kind of standalone, that unlike other markets, nobody in the UK was really using these. So the kind of tough but easy, simple decision is that if no one's using it, we can lower the price and make the thermostat cheaper by just omitting this feature. And for a while, not many people really noticed. It kind of was okay, but we didn't talk about it, which might have been an oversight in hindsight. And in the past year, at least, probably longer, there's just this really kind of enlarging demand for modulating controls, gaining extra efficiency there for many reasons, geopolitically as well, but also just in terms of kind of saving on your emissions and your gas use and not overusing or overexerting a boiler as well. So that kind of explains a bit about why we kind of pulled this from the UK market. But the good kind of news and the kind of fresh new news exclusive to HeatGeek right now is that we are bringing it back to the UK market. We do know there's a demand for it. We need to kind of be careful here because we don't want to make the same mistake that we did last time. We don't want to just bring it back, brute force, see if it happens, any change, and then end up with still a really low percentage of people actually using the modulation controls on it and wiring it in the right way. So we see this as a kind of first step towards bringing this back. And the way that we're going to do it, we're just going to sell it on the Tado website. There's a pro installer website on Tado. It's up for sale actually right now. So you can go buy it. You can buy it as a starter kit, or you can buy it if you've already got Tado devices. You can buy it as a kind of just add-on and buy a new kind of replacement one for your old one. And then the next few steps, really, we're going to kind of listen, learn, see what people do with it, see if they install it right. And hopefully we by going to that specific Tado website, there is an audience there who are a bit more educated about it. They know what they're wanting, and they're not just kind of going to buy this and not use it. If they're buying it, it's an intentional purchase.
Well, very good. On the listening front, if I might point out one of the mistakes that might have been made earlier on is measuring that perhaps, I don't know, let's say 8% of your wireless installs were using the bus communication. The error there is, if you looked at the year before, that may have been 4%, and the year before that might have been 2%. So if you're looking at it from another angle, a 100% increase year on year is massive. So the country's actually moved on quite far from there. And I was aware of kind of this change earlier on. So I would have guessed that those numbers at that point, but and the whole reason the HeatGeek channel was made is because we know where the industry is going, not where it is now. You don't make for now, you make for what's going to happen, where things are, and then by that you lead. And I think Tado could and is in a position to lead. And the other part of, do they know how to install it and the nuances, etc., would be the number one solution to that is a peer-to-peer network where you enable people to communicate and discuss different ideas and tips and tricks how to make things work together, rather than just perhaps a helpline or a booklet. Like that's the 70s, 80s, 90s version, the booklet. The modern day is to get a Facebook group, Twitter, be active on Twitter, be open. Don't be shy of, people are scared of PR and it going bad. Yeah, it can go bad, but it's not having a problem. It's how you handle the problem that makes a good company. And then by having this open thing, what you'll end up with is more people giving back and giving advice and a better product at the end would be my kind of opening spiel on that whole situation.
I definitely agree, actually. I'm not sure about whether the percentage of installs was changing year on year.
Yeah, it's a flippant comment.
Into the archives on that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one thing that we are going to look at as well. And that's what we hope to happen, particularly if this particular model gets more and more used. That's where we want to go. And then we want to kind of foster this growth. I think you kind of touched upon community as well. That's one thing that we do want to get really good at as Tado as well. I hang out in a few kind of Tado Facebook groups, home automation Facebook groups, heat pump groups, all these kind of things, and just kind of listen and observe. And there's a real audience as well. If you go into these places, you can see other people teaching each other. And that's something that we want to kind of learn, building a community in a positive way, kind of like what you're doing with HeatGeek as well. If you kind of just look at the replies on Twitter, it might be a bit sad sometimes, but it grows in different ways. And This is really what we want to do. This is why it's just the first step, because we want to listen to people, talk to you, talk to others, and try and engage in this bubble. But whether we can shape it or not, that's that's for other people to decide.
That is incredibly refreshing to hear. And I'm not just saying that because the downfall of manufacturers in the UK is their distance by being this kind of corporate wall that you can't communicate with. Yeah. In the modern day with social media, it's person-to-person interaction that people miss. And that's the way this needs to be approached. It's a people thing. And having this old corporate setup it doesn't work. So yeah, very refreshing to hear. You mentioned just then you were in a heat pump group. Why are you in a heat pump group?
So I'm in a quite unique circumstance myself, as I've just bought a new house, and so I'm kind of starting my heating journey from scratch. At Tado, we are actually massive fans of heat pumps. I say support them with an asterisk. We support them kind of morally and philosophically, and I think people would be surprised how often we talk about heat pumps internally at Tado. If there's one kind of thing that I could make clear, it's that we 100% support them and believe in them, and we hope to help them grow as well. That's where we're in a place now when they're going to kind of approach mainstream adoption. We're in this kind of it's almost like teething pains right now. There's all sorts of news going on, but we're fully behind them. We're building technologies that work for them. And as a kind of allusion to where we're going with heat pumps, yes, technically you can use a Tado device right now with a heat pump. We've had people come and tell us how they're using it. That's totally fine. And like I said, hanging out in groups, they're using it. We would say maybe change some of the settings, like geofencing. You don't want to cycle a heat pump on and off so much like a boiler, but really we're looking, like you said, towards the future, what heat pumps are going to be. So we see a lot of benefit with heat pumps, not particularly around just the controls or the temperature, but more about timing them or pairing them with the time of use tariff, what that potential could be. That's something that we're really excited about. And just about a month ago, we announced it's air-to-air heat pumps, but they're still quite important. But we announced the first time of use tariff that works with an air-to-air heat pump. So it will forecast the cost of energy throughout the next 24 hours. And it'll kind of be quite agile. It'll dip and dodge those times of expensive heating. Right. And it'll do the bulk load of your heating during those times of renewable energy when it's all aplenty and cheap. So this is the kind of thing that we want to bring to other heat pumps, whether they're ground sourced or air to water, that kind of thing. It'll take a bit. We're building it right now, as I said, and we're really interested in it. So, and hopefully, something to impress people.
The most important question is, though, because without this bit, it's not a thing. Will it be intelligently communicating with the heat pump? Or is it an on-off signal to the heat pump? Because if it's on-off signal, come back on the show.
Maybe I'll have to come back on the show. To be honest, I'm not that close to what we're building.
Well, as someone reaching out and doing the, if you've got the ears to the ground, the number one thing we're going to want is something that communicates intelligently with it and doesn't just switch it on and off, that can perhaps work with room influence. And I think another thing I'd like to see is, what I really like about Tado a lot is that it's much more gentle with the flow temperature compared to standard like Opentherm controllers. It doesn't ramp up and jump all over the place. And there's a setting where you can tweak how much of that responsiveness you want versus economy. I think there should almost be like a heat pump button on there, so you know it's a heat pump, and it takes that back even further, more into weather compensation, less room influence, if that makes sense. But it would need, intelligent communication for that, obviously. So a lot of heat pumps could be vastly improved by having a Tado thermostat, because a lot of heat pump controls are just absolute crap. Not your Vaillants, not your Niebes are good, Viessmanns are good, but others are rubbish.
Well, that's good to know that we can actually hopefully build something really useful, because that's what we want to do. We want to help heat pumps grow in adoption, in use, in user friendliness as well. And it's kind of, there's a lot of places to go with it. There's a lot of ways to do it. So, hey, you giving feedback at this point is really, really helpful, because I'm sure there'll be folks at Tado watching this as well.
Okay, so one of the things you might have seen from the channel is we're quite careful about zoning. Obviously, some consumers can take some Tado zone valves and zone their system to heck and just have all these massive temperature differences in all different rooms rather than like a tighter band. Is that something that you can limit perhaps for installs, or are you guys aware of that kind of issue, that people may be taking this on thinking they're going to save money, but actually they're killing their heat pump or whatever?
Whether they use zoning for a heat pump or a gas boiler, that's probably something we need to look at, and we know which kind of device you've connected it to, so we'll be able to kind of figure that out. And I'll leave that to product management teams whether they kind of limit these things to enable your heat pump to be a little bit more efficient. I think the thing with zoning, as you kind of touched upon it, it's really tempting to just say, I'm only going to be in this room. So I'm going to ignore all the other rooms in the house, and surely it is just cheaper to only heat one room. We've seen your video that kind of dispels this myth, and there are certain house types that might be better for that. There's also certain ones that aren't. No houses are the same. It all really depends, and you might have to do a bit of investigation as well. But we kind of believe that the best way to use zoning is to use setback temperatures. So the best way that I kind of think about it is if grandma comes to stay, she wants her bedroom a little bit toastier or warm. That's okay. You might want your temperature a little bit lower, so you can manipulate the temperatures there. Or if you've got a newborn baby, you want to keep an eye on them and make sure they're a stable temperature as well. That's how you should probably use zoning with setback temperatures, rather than, I know it's super, super tempting as well, and just kind of cutting everything off in the house, because there's a whole thermal mass to houses and that kind of thing, and they heat up together. There's a door here right next to me. Heat in this room would just flow straight out the door and kind of escape through the windows, that kind of thing. So whenever we kind of use images or marketing assets in Tado, we kind of have maybe one room here, one room there, and they're always a couple of temperatures different. It's never kind of off like that. But like I said, it's your own house. You're welcome to choose how to heat it as you would. Our TRVs, which I think everyone on the channel knows a TRV, I'm usually trying to avoid saying that word. We like to think that they're an improvement on the current TRVs, which you can turn straight to zero. So I don't think we would be likely to say, nope, you can never turn this off. We like to give you kind of as much control over your kind of climate and comfort as you like. The only thing that we do is we don't let you heat a house over 25 degrees, which I think is quite the same normal thing. And we have, of course, frost protection on all of the rooms, whether you use a radiator or not. So I think that's the other cool thing about Tado is we've got this thing called Energy IQ, and it's about a year old. I don't know if you're aware of it, or maybe some other people on the channel aren't. No. If you input your meter readings into the Tado app, you can put in your gas rate as well. We will give you cost forecastings on what you're going to use throughout this month based on your current schedules, and a little kind of idea of what we think your house looks like and how it heats. So you can set a limit within your direct debit. So you can say, I know I've only got £90 of my direct debit, so if current trajectory is £100, I'm going to be spending more, so I should lower my temperatures. The really cool thing about this is it gives you room by room an estimation on what each room will use kilowatt hours. So then, I was looking at mine the other day, and this room that I'm in right now is where I work from home a lot, and this used most of the heating. So I thought, okay, well, I should probably lower the heating in this room, so it's not the kind of one obvious outlier taking up all the space. And you can also have a look at the rooms when the heating is turned off. And I see that if the whole energy in the house is turned off, this room leaks the most heat. Not too sure why. Maybe I'll have a look in the loft. But these kind of insights, we think that they help you make better decisions about how to heat your home, how to use energy at home. And hopefully as well, that can kind of give you an insight. Is my house ready for a heat pump as well? Am I losing heat at a good temperature or too much? It's not quite a heat loss survey, but I think it's a nice little starting point as well.
Definitely. I think like longer term, so many people would think that I like as little as possible in the system, and I typically do, but I think we're very close to the precipice where we can let machines, computers, learn exactly the amount, because some zoning is actually probably beneficial in all situations. It's just if you're changing by 0.5 degrees or 2 degrees, but the humans can't do this. We can't do this on an ongoing basis. The only way we do this is using artificial intelligence to decide what's comfortable for us. Yes, we should have a manual override all the time, but machines can get us there a lot, or computers can get us there a lot more accurately and in a measured approach than we could ever do, and they'll factor in time of use tariffs, etc. So although I don't like the zoning, I like where the TRVs, intelligent TRVs, can get us, because they're going to give us more data, aggregated data across the whole of our house. So I am a fan. I just don't think there's yet the overriding thing to control it all, but I think it's just around the corner.
Yeah, I think with Aaron, I think, like you said, it's getting a bit more understanding of your house, your rooms, which ones consume the most, how quickly do they heat. That helps you make other decisions in life as well. Do I need more insulation in the roof? Absolutely. There was a really good, someone got in touch with us as well, a customer from Tado, and they noticed that they had no insulation in the roof over one particular room, because they kept on noticing in the graphs in the Tado app that the temperature was dropping much, much more than the other ones. So they popped their head into the roof and they saw there was just a big gap of insulation. And it's a kind of strange thing, but that was a really kind of crazy story to me, and I just thought that's a really good example of how a bit more insights can help save you money and help you learn about your house.
Absolutely. Awesome. So is there any sort of other news coming out of Tado or anything that you want to share with us while you're here?
I don't think so. We kind of gestured about
lot going
where
on.
We're going in the future with heat pumps. We're doing some stuff in the space of modulation as well to try and give back options that we hear from consumers. But otherwise, we're just looking forward to hearing more about people using their Tados at home, what they think about it, any advice as well that they want to share or give us feedback. And it's going to be certainly an interesting winter. We know that these devices are quite a luxury. Not everyone can afford one. But for those who can afford one, we think that it's something really compelling, and having a bit more insights into how your house uses energy could be a really useful way of trying to manage bills during a difficult time.
If you can find the money, I think the payback could be quite quick, to be quite honest. So just to clear up the confusion that our channel's been kind of caught up in as well, Tado, both the wireless and the wired, now from today or from a month ago, whatever, now speak all the bus languages for boilers, essentially. There might be one or two boilers they don't speak the bus language, is that right?
I can give you a list of all those bus languages. I won't read them.
We'll put them in the description of all the bus languages it speaks. Awesome.
So the modulating wireless thermostat from Tado, that's only going to be available on our website. It's a pro-installer website, web shop. Like I said, we think this is going to be a more intentional purchase. People who want it, they can still buy it. It's not only for installers, but it is slightly geared towards installers. You don't need a kind of business card to buy it. It's open to everyone. But the other one without Opentherm, it is still on other channels like Amazon, Screwfix, that kind of thing. We wouldn't say it's an inferior product as well, but you can make your customer choice as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks very much for getting in touch. I'm glad you did. We'll update our other video that says, by the way, Tado no longer supports wireless modulation, and probably put a link to this video. Well, keep us updated with any developments. And then you've got a Facebook group for Tado, or you're going to have one, or like what? Are you guys going to be more active on Twitter? I don't think I've connected with you on Twitter yet. Socials?
We can connect on Twitter. We're going to be a little bit more active on Twitter. We are. There's some other Facebook groups out there. We'll kind of let the community play with these for now. But it's definitely an area we're listening. We're looking at a lot of people, and hopefully we can have more conversations like this, like the one that we've just had, and kind of be there for people, listen to their feedback.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that with us. It's much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Really good chat.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, guys, that's it for that one. A world exclusive? Yeah, let's go with world exclusive. Tado now fully supports modulating controls again, which is very good because, in my opinion, it's the best third-party modulating control. The best modulating control, I'll save for another episode. If you like this one, hit like and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.